While the rest of the world is ripping open wrapping paper with genuine excitement, posting unboxing videos, and literally crying over thoughtful presents, there's a group of people who dread their own birthday. And according to psychology, the anxiety they feel when someone hands them a gift box isn't just social awkwardness, it's something way deeper. Stay with me, because what I'm about to explain will completely change how you see that person in your life who always says you shouldn't have, and actually means it. Here's what nobody talks about. Hating gifts doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're cold or difficult to love, and it definitely doesn't mean you don't appreciate the people in your life. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that makes the exact moment that brings most people joy feel like psychological warfare. And about 15% of people experience this, though most of them will never admit it out loud. Let's start with why most people love receiving gifts in the first place. Humans are wired for reciprocity. For thousands of years, gift giving was how we built alliances, showed loyalty, and maintained social bonds. When someone gives you something, your brain releases oxytocin and dopamine. You feel valued, seen, cared for. It's a hit of social connection that says you matter to this person. For most people, that feeling is pure joy. But for people who hate receiving gifts, that same moment triggers something completely different. And it starts with a concept psychologists call perceived indebtedness. The second someone hands you a gift, your brain immediately calculates the social debt you now owe. It's automatic. You didn't ask for this debt, but now you're carrying it. And for people with high sensitivity to reciprocity norms, that weight is unbearable. Research on gift reception and obligation shows that people who dislike receiving gifts experience significantly higher activation in brain regions associated with social conflict when presented with unsolicited gifts. That's the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats to your social standing and autonomy. Translation: while other people's brains are lighting up with reward signals, your brain is literally processing the gift as a social threat. Wild, right? But it gets deeper, because there's another layer most people never consider: control. People who hate receiving gifts often have what psychologists call high autonomy needs. Their sense of self is deeply tied to being independent, self-sufficient, not needing things from others. When someone gives them a gift, especially an unexpected one, it violates that autonomy. It's a reminder that other people can affect them, obligate them, insert themselves into their carefully maintained independence. And that feeling, that loss of control, it's genuinely distressing. Think about it this way. When you receive a gift, you're now in a vulnerable position. You have to react correctly, express the right amount of gratitude, meet the giver's emotional expectations, and you have to do all of this in real time while they're watching your face, analyzing whether you like it enough, whether your smile is genuine, whether you're appropriately moved. For people with high self-monitoring tendencies, this is exhausting. The pressure to perform gratitude on demand, to match your facial expression to someone else's emotional expectations, to prove in that moment that you're worthy of their thoughtfulness. It's not just receiving a gift, it's an emotional performance review you didn't know you were scheduled for. But here's where it gets really interesting. People who hate gifts often have a completely different relationship with material objects than the rest of the population. Psychologists call this low materialism, and it's not about being minimalist or anti-consumerist, it's about where you derive meaning. Studies on consumer behavior show that people with low gift receptivity demonstrate significantly higher preference for experiential rewards over material ones. They're not excited by things, they're excited by moments, conversations, shared experiences, the intangible connections that can't be wrapped in a box. When someone gives them an object, even a thoughtful one, their brain just doesn't process it as valuable in the same way. It's like speaking different love languages, except one person is shouting and the other person literally can't hear that frequency. And then there's the guilt factor, which is genuinely fascinating from a neurological standpoint. When most people receive a gift, they experience positive emotion followed by mild obligation. When gift haters receive something, they experience immediate guilt that often outweighs any positive feeling. Why? Because their brain is already 3 steps ahead. They're thinking about whether they deserve this, whether the giver spent too much, whether they'll be able to reciprocate appropriately, whether accepting this gift means they're taking advantage of someone's generosity. It's an entire moral calculation happening in the span of seconds, and neuroscience research shows this guilt response activates the same brain regions as actual moral transgressions. Their brain is treating the gift like they've done something wrong. Now, before everyone starts psychoanalyzing their gift-hating friends, there's often a backstory here. For some people, this aversion is learned. Maybe they grew up in a household where gifts came with strings attached. Maybe love was conditional, and presents were used as leverage or control. Maybe they watched a parent use gifts to manipulate, to keep score, to maintain power in relationships. Maybe they experienced the shame of not being able to reciprocate when their family couldn't afford it. Your brain remembers those patterns. Even when the current gift is genuinely no strings attached, your nervous system is firing old alarm bells. The anxiety isn't about this gift. It's about every gift that came before it. It's about the learned association between receiving and owing, between generosity and obligation, between being given something and losing a piece of your independence. But here's where the part that explains so much about why gift lovers and gift haters often completely talk past each other. It comes down to how you experience love and connection. For gift lovers, objects are symbolic. That necklace isn't just jewelry. It's a representation of being known, being thought about, being cared for. The object carries emotional weight. It's a physical manifestation of an invisible bond. For people who hate gifts, that symbolism doesn't translate. They think, if you love me, spend time with me, listen to me, show up when I need you. Remember what I said 3 weeks ago about something that mattered to me. The object feels empty, even performative, like a shortcut around real emotional intimacy. They're not wrong, but neither are gift givers. It's just two completely different approaches to the human need for connection. One group finds meaning in the tangible, the other finds it in the relational.
Here's what researchers call tangible burden versus emotional burden. When someone gives you a gift, you now have a physical object you're responsible for. You have to keep it, display it, maintain it, or face the guilt of getting rid of it. For people who hate receiving gifts, this feels like clutter, both physical and psychological. They're not being dramatic. Research shows that people with high gift aversion experience genuine stress from unwanted possessions. Their brain processes these objects as incomplete obligations, things demanding their attention and energy, reminders of social debts they never wanted to incur. Meanwhile, the gift giver thinks they've done something generous. The receiver feels like they've been assigned homework they didn't sign up for. And here's what's really interesting. People who hate receiving gifts often report feeling more authentic in their relationships because they're not performing gratitude they don't feel, they're not accumulating objects to please others, they're not participating in the social theater that gift exchanges often become. There's something quietly honest about that. They'd rather risk seeming difficult than fake enthusiasm. And research on authenticity shows that people with low gift receptivity score higher in authenticity measures and lower in people-pleasing tendencies. They've decided their discomfort with pretending outweighs the social smoothness that comes from just going along with it. They're willing to be the person who makes birthdays awkward if it means they don't have to betray their genuine feelings. But let's be clear about something else. Sometimes the hatred of receiving gifts is actually about shame. Shame about not being able to reciprocate equally. Shame about being seen as someone who needs things. Shame about being perceived as less successful or capable if you accept help or generosity. Your resistance might not be about the gift at all. It might be about what accepting it says about you, what story it tells about your status, your worthiness, your position in the relationship. And that's worth examining because shame-based avoidance keeps you isolated from the very connection you're craving. So what does all this mean? If you hate receiving gifts, you're not a difficult person who's impossible to please. You're someone whose brain processes social exchange, obligation, autonomy, and material objects completely differently than the majority. Your stress response fires when theirs releases dopamine. Your need for independence conflicts with their need to express care through giving, and neither response is wrong. They're just different wiring, different histories, different values colliding in a moment that's supposed to be universally joyful, but never quite is for you. The next time someone hands you a wrapped box and your stomach drops, remember this: you're not ungrateful, you're not broken, you're just navigating a social ritual that your brain experiences as complicated in ways most people will never understand. And maybe, just maybe, the people who truly love you will learn that the best gift they can give you is respecting that you don't want any. If this resonated with you, you're gonna want to understand why some people can't accept compliments without deflecting, and why that might actually be a sign of deeper self-awareness. Click to discover why your brain rejects positive feedback that everyone else craves.